Alright, y'all, hello and welcome back to another racing videos time, looking at another Nürburgring lap record, I think. This is from a car and a car company that I know absolutely nothing about. It's called something like the Xiaomi SU7 Ultra prototype. So this is a prototype. As far as I know, it's not like a full-on production model that you would buy at a dealership or whatever. And this is a Chinese car. Now, I know that Chinese market, or rather Chinese cars, have hit other markets around the world for some years now, and we don't have any here in the U.S. So I know nothing about these, but I was pretty shocked to see this recommended at various points by multiple people, and that this was really fast around the Nürburgring. Whenever I take a look at Nürburgring laps on this channel, it tends to do really well, and I love, like, great ideas and conversations we get in the comments. You know, this track is incredibly demanding and difficult, so these laps, you know, I can't drive home enough how insanely hard and impressive these are. This original video will be linked in the description down below so you can check it out entirely. Let's go ahead and see what this is about. Hold on, let me fix the framing. All right, let's go. So this is a four-door sedan. Ooh. Definitely a cold lap. I think this is their first lap out. I don't even think they had a warm-up. Judging that the brakes are that loud. Whoa. Dude, EVs are so interesting. High performance ones are obviously really, they're badass. Oh my God, look at the acceleration on this thing. What? What on earth? The SU7 Ultra prototype. Damn, that thing is flying. Holy crap, dude. Whoa, whoa, got a little squirrely there. God, the grip seems like it's pretty incredible. The track almost looks shiny. Is it wet or damp? If it is, then I'm already mind blown. First impressions. Holy crap, this thing's fast. The acceleration coming off turns, you know, when he lays into the throttle is just next level. And this thing is a sedan. Now, let me point out the obvious. It's a prototype. Prototypes are always going to be pretty different than, you know, production cars, so that should be noted. Also, this thing is gutted. Look at inside. This is full-on race car. Full-on, right? We have a roll cage. You know, I don't know if we have, like, Lexan windows, you know, a lot of lightweight pieces and totally gutted out. So far from a sedan you could go pick up your friends from after work. But still, it is like the size and shape of a sedan, which is obviously a lot different than, you know, a small and more aerodynamic, you know, Porsche 911 or a Chevy Corvette or something. So this is still impressive. Let's get back to it. This is crazy. I'm going to have to look up a little bit about this car after this because I'm already intrigued. I think the track looks like it's slightly wet, which totally changes everything. The sound of this is crazy. By the way, I'm not the biggest fan of EVs. I've said that on my channel. I respect them. I'm just not personally a fan of them. But I can't deny that this is pretty wicked. They sound pretty cool when they're this high performance. Even though I always love the sound of an engine, a combustion engine. This thing sounds pretty intimidating. You hear the tires, the brakes, and you hear that those electric motors whir with sounds like a lot of power. It's pretty crazy. Wow. He is having to work that wheel a lot, which you always have to do on this track. It always amazes me seeing that. I think, you know, motorsport fans will understand how much of a task this is, lapping this track. But casual fans or non-car people, I don't think will understand how much you have to pilot this thing or any high-performance car on a track like this. It is a workout. It is crazy. You have to focus and kind of be one with the car for such a long time. This is so much longer than, you know, 98% of racetracks out there, right? It's freaking huge. Oh, it bottomed out, I think, yeah? What was that noise? Damn. This track is very bumpy, too. Lots of elevation change. Absolutely crazy. I love how they have the brake and the accelerator measurements here. Full throttle, quite a bit. Jeez. Whoa, whoa. My goodness, man. This driver is doing excellent. Props to the driver as always. Damn, these noises are freaky in this thing. Oh, oh. Look at all that noise, bottoming out hardcore. I don't know if he's actually bottoming out, but there's some banging going on. It's crazy. So one part of Nürburgring I just can't stand. I respect them when they nail it. I remember back in the old Gran Turismo days, that carousel turn would screw me up so bad. I got to get back into the sim racing and try this track out with some cars. That'll be the real test. Way different than, you know, PlayStation 2 with the controller. What happened? Uh-oh. Holy smokes. Something happened. I had to check. I had to double check the title. This is the official record video. So how the hell's he breaking down? Something looks like it broke or wasn't working right. Car slowed down. He looked confused. He's definitely using all of the track. I've been trying to see his lines. I noticed he's not really riding the curbs much, though. But he's definitely using most of the track. Damn. Every once in a while it gets squirrely on coming off of some of the turns, which is scary because it happens so fast. Damn, this thing is woo. Driving cars of this caliber on Nürburgring must be terrifying, dude. Like, you're coming off this dramatic turn and it's just like lightning to the next turn. Like, you're already at the next turn. It's freaky to me. It's like, holy smokes. Look at all the movement and bumps. I mean, these cars take abuse on this track too. That's the thing. So does the driver. I want to lap it so bad, though. It's just one of those top of the top bucket list tracks. It really is. Wonder what kind of speeds this thing does on the straight. Wow, 310 kilometers per hour and counting. That's pretty freaking fast. I want to say, isn't that almost like 180 miles per hour? Damn. In a sedan? An EV? Because how does the gearing work, right? Don't EVs, wouldn't this essentially have the equivalent of like one gear? To have such strong acceleration down low and still be able to top out at 170, 180 miles per hour, or in this case, 300 plus kilometers per hour, I feel like that's really impressive, and I wouldn't have guessed that. Because like I said, I'm just not an EV guy. I don't follow them super closely like I do other cars. But I thought, like, for example, you know, at least in the U.S., right, everyone knows about the Tesla, right? Tesla Model S, you know, all the crazy additions of that have been fast. I always thought I heard that those accelerate extremely fast, but they're not real good up top. So once you're going, you know, 120, 130 miles per hour, they're not as strong up there. And the top speed, I don't think, is super high on those. But I could be wrong. Like I always thought that was the weaker end of EVs was the top speed because of the difference in the drivetrain, right? And the lack of gears and all that stuff. I don't know. This thing seems very impressive, and we're almost done with the whole lap already. 6:46. Breaking the lap record, becoming the fastest four-door car in Nürburgring Nordschleife history? Is that true? That is insane. I mean, it sounds fast. I'm not, you know, even a Nürburgring expert either, but I know that anything, in my opinion, anything sub, you know, 8 minutes is like a fast car. So in this case, sub 7 minutes, we're at 6 minutes, 46 seconds in a sedan. Yeah. That is crazy. That's crazy fast. Also, the fact that it had some sort of weird hiccup, you know, 3/4 of the way into the lap. Something happened. I would love to learn about that. That's considered that, too. It was damp. It looked to be damp or wet. If it's not, I'll be shocked. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It certainly looked like it was. It was damp and wet. Plus, you had some sort of minor hiccup or breakdown for a pretty good chunk of time with the drivetrain or the computers or something. And it still ran that fast and possibly set a record. I don't know much about, you know, records and different classes for that type of stuff at Nürburgring. I only know of like the, you know, top dog ever, which was, you know, of course, the Porsche 919 Evo, very viral video on this channel. And that was definitely a certified record. And of course, that being a totally different classic car, that was like a ultra, you know, small, lightweight, you know, single passenger prototype or whatever, right? That wasn't a sedan based on a production car, from what I understand. So that's what I think this is, some sort of actual production car. I think this car, literally, the only time I've heard of it is in the news here, that literally our Ford CEO here in the United States, in Michigan, even though we don't sell any Chinese cars, somehow he imported, I think it was a Xiaomi SU7 or something similar, and he's been driving it around Michigan, and saying, like, basically saying it's good, it's really good, and that, you know, Ford doesn't make anything like that, which is crazy to hear and see a Ford CEO in the U.S. driving a Chinese car. I think it's pretty interesting and fascinating, because I'm a realist. Like, if things are good, things are good. You know, I think it's healthy for American companies to get some competition and make them kind of step up, right? But it is just wild, just because the U.S. always seems to be like wanting to keep everyone out and U.S. stuff only, when in this case, I mean, look at this. Look at the caliber of this car. Clearly, some of these Chinese cars are unbelievable. They're really bringing their A game, it looks like. So if I search Google for it, yeah, the Xiaomi SU7 is a full-size high-performance electric sedan by Xiaomi Auto, a subsidiary of Chinese consumer electronics giant Xiaomi. That is insane. Oh my God, let's see what it looks like, because we obviously were only in the car. Look at that. This is most like what we saw, although this one is a full interior. But this is a Xiaomi SU7 Ultra. That is actually awesome. I like it. I like it a lot. Of course, you know, bright yellow. If it looks good in yellow, that's usually impressive, because a lot of cars look ugly in yellow. I actually don't mind it. I think it looks pretty good. Of course, it looks cool in like a more regular spec. Wow. That is crazy that this is that fast. I would have had no idea. Seeing it in like a race spec like this is super cool though. I mean, wow. I guess it's got the bragging rights too. So let's see what the comments say. Company mostly known for smartphones and air fryers sets a lap record on the Nürburgring. What a time we live in. No kidding. That is actually crazy, right? It was a wet condition. Okay. Wet condition, lost power for seconds, made only in 1 lap. What a beast. You know what? They're right. That's what I said. I was not aware that that was indeed only 1 lap. So they didn't, it almost seems like, yeah, they didn't even warm up. They didn't practice with it for a while and then decide, hey, let's set a lap with this thing. It seems like they just took it out there cold because the tires and brakes sounded like they were ice cold. And plus you're in a damp and it just set a lap. It happens to be that fast. I mean, there's kind of a lot about this that's like, whoa, that is crazy impressive. How did this even come about? After power loss around 4 minutes, 18 seconds and back up, I feel like that he started to push harder despite the power issue. Yeah, that is, I wonder what happened. That was very interesting. The fact that something like that could happen and that the driver and the car pushed through it and still set a record. How often does that happen? That's pretty wild. I feel like that really adds to the lore of this for sure. As a German engineer, I have to honor without envy that this impressive result of Chinese engineers. Yeah, clearly. I mean, this thing is beyond impressive. Wow. I haven't looked at a Nürburgring lap in quite a while. A lot more to come because I really thoroughly enjoy these. That one was quite fascinating, and I could safely say, never thought I'd say this, but this, sort of production car, or at least based on production car, Chinese electric sedan is certainly faster than a NASCAR stock car would be on Nürburgring. I can't even believe it. At least I'm pretty sure, because let's get real. I don't think a NASCAR would set, and honestly, in a sub 7 minute time. It would be just too much of a handful. It's got the power maybe, but everything else, no, that would just be too much. So yeah, it's pretty weird. Pretty weird to say, but honestly true. That was fun. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. Is that indeed the record for a sedan? You'll have to let me know. What do you think of this car? And what do you think about like prototypes like this? On one hand, it's impressive. On the other hand, I'm sure that exact car that we just witnessed is unfortunately a lot different than most production cars you would see. So that's kind of annoying in some sort of way, right? Because when you actually see a production spec car that you can go out and buy yourself on the track and it sets a record, I feel like it's a little more impressive and genuine. But maybe that's just me. You'll have to let me know. That was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it as well. I love suggestions like this. So if you have any more like this, please let me know. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.